Hello, welcome to the channel. My name is Ian. This channel is all about music and art, and we're at that time of year again where my wife and I, Jane, we go off to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. Now, we've done this for quite a few years, and we go as official reviewers for the Fringe. I think in 2022 we saw in person about 35 shows over a 10-day period, maybe slightly more, and then we saw more online when we got back home. But what I want to do here is just to give you 10 things to be aware of before you go to Edinburgh Fringe. So the first thing is I'm recording this early July, and the first thing is accommodation. Now, if you're wanting to come to Edinburgh Fringe this year and you haven't already booked your accommodation, it will be expensive. We've had to block 2 lots of accommodation this year. The first was really back end of last year, where the accommodation was, that's for 7 days. That accommodation was fairly reasonable. And then because we weren't sure how long we were actually going to have to go for, because we were going on 2 trips this year, and we're coming the 3rd week as our 2nd trip, that accommodation, which we didn't book until May, cost twice as much. So you can see that there is an issue with, you know, the prices of everything go up as far as accommodation is concerned in Edinburgh come festival time. I don't know, I mean, hopefully they'll, you know, maybe in the future something will happen that makes it a little bit more affordable, but it is getting to the point where it's actually getting so expensive to stay in Edinburgh. And what we are seeing is, you were certainly seeing some of the artists who are performing and not staying in Edinburgh. They're actually staying 10, 20 miles away. If they've got transport or it's close to a bus link or a train link, staying out of town and actually then coming into town for that day and then going back out again. You're seeing that more and more, because actually staying in Edinburgh and even staying in Leith, which is 3 or 4 miles it's just on the outskirts of Edinburgh. Even Leith is expensive now. So book your accommodation early if you can. Bit late now, or try and find some cheaper accommodation. Just do a Google search. You may find something somebody's been let down last minute, and you might get some cheap accommodation. So good luck with that. Secondly, is what to wear at Edinburgh. Now it's Scotland. It's slightly cooler than it is in the south of England, or in England in general. I would tend to say wear very strong, stout footwear. It does rain in Scotland, so you want a Mac or at least a brolly. And I tend to take layers, so I will wear a t-shirt, jumper, a sort of thinnish leather jacket, and then I will also have a Mac that goes around with me through the day, because literally you can go out in the morning and it can be brilliant sunshine, and literally 2 hours later it's a torrent, really, and you see water running down the street. And I've done videos in the past of when that sort of thing happened. So be prepared. Take some food with you, take some snacks, have a backpack, take some water or a soft drink, so you're carrying around. You will be queuing quite a lot. So although you may have tickets for a show, there's a lot of queuing at Edinburgh Fringe, like in all large sort of venue type festivals, really. So be prepared for that. And there's obviously lots and lots of people everywhere you go. Give yourself plenty of time to get from one place to another, because you can easily underestimate how long it takes to actually get somewhere. Third thing is order one of these. If you can pick them at certain news agents up and down the UK, I think Smith's maybe. I'll put a link in the description down below as to where you can get them. We ordered ours, and they came a few weeks ago. I think it was £10 when we ordered 2. You only pay for the shipping. Now I prefer to do most of my searching for shows online, but Jane literally will go through this and she will have sticky notes in it. You'll probably see it because she'll take it with her. It's also worth mentioning, so that's number 3. Number 4 is associated with that. There is now, and it's just been launched this week, an online app. Now, I actually think we're 3 weeks away from the Fringe. This app should have been launched quite a while ago, really. I've just downloaded it this morning and had a quick test of it. It seems to work fine. You can search for things there. You can save favourites. You can book things through the actual app. Most of what the Fringe say is that all of their booking is online. That's actually not quite true, but we'll get onto that. But be prepared to book online. I have seen people in the past actually literally trying to, without the app, because 2 years ago that we didn't have the app, trying to book something on a very, very small smartphone. So be prepared to book online. It's also worth mentioning that it's quite a good idea to register an account. I know nobody wants to register accounts for things like this, but actually it is quite beneficial in the sense that I have an account, so I logged in to my account on computer, and then I logged into the account on the app and saved a few things, and they automatically were on the app and on the computer. Now, in the past, that hasn't been the case. I remember, I think it was last year, I saved a load of shows and then came to look at them on the account on my iPad, which I was taking with me, weren't there. They've sorted out all those issues. So in theory, if you look at it on one device, you should be okay on the other. Certainly, it does work between the app and a desktop computer, and that's the way I prefer to do it. Like I say, Jane prefers to go through it in paper and mark it with highlighters. Number 5. It's not a bad idea. I mean, it's not something we've ever done, but it's worth considering. There is the Friends of the Edinburgh Fringe. Now, you don't get any free tickets. So if you want to become a friend, it's £49 for 1 year. If you pay by direct debit, it becomes £39. You get 10 2-for-1 tickets of participating shows. I'll say a bit more about 2-for-1 tickets in a bit, but that's worth it. You get a programme delivery discount, whatever that means. And a priority booking line. Now, I think that's just a phone line or I don't think that you're going to get a priority queue in a show. That's not going to happen. But they do say that there is a priority booking line. So it's a number that only once you become a friend that you can probably phone up and book. Next we have it's connected to that really. 2-for-1 tickets. Now there are certain days, and it's usually the first Monday or maybe Tuesday of the first week, where it's still in what's called preview week, and you can get 2-for-1 tickets. So you basically buy one ticket and you get a ticket for free. It's a really, really good way to shows. I mean, let's face it, going to shows at Edinburgh Fringe are not cheap. They start around most shows will start around about 15, 16 pounds, something like that. But they can go as high as 30, 40 quid for a show. Most shows are an hour, sometimes an hour and a half. So it's, if you're going to several shows a day, it does become really quite expensive. So, 2-for-1 tickets are a good thing. It's also worth mentioning, if you're there right at the beginning of the Fringe, that if a show hasn't sold out or doesn't look like it's sold out or hasn't sold very many, you will see probably about 20 minutes, half an hour before the start of a show, people coming out outside the venues, especially round sort of Bristol Square area where the university is, and you've got the Gilded Balloon and those sort of venues. You'll see people giving out tickets. They'll say to you, well, I'll give you this ticket, but if you go and buy one ticket for the other ticket, that type of thing. So it's worth looking out for that. I have to say, a few years ago, Jane was an absolute demon at being able to spot these people, and we went to some amazing shows free because we just happened to spot the fact that there were nobody. We went to one show, it's quite a late show actually, and there was only 4 of us in the audience. So there was two single people, and we were a couple, and I think it was called Two Men and a Banana, and it was a brilliant show. There was 4 of us, and one poor lady had to go early because it was her last bus, so we were down to 3. I mean, the guys they did the show brilliantly. They got us to introduce ourselves to each other, and it made it a really special event, really. So that's part of the Fringe to some extent. Next, don't dismiss the free Fringe. Now, the way that the free Fringe works is it's what it says. It's a free Fringe. But realistically, what we should be able to do is you should be able to put some money in a bin that comes round, or a hat at the end of the show, really. Now, if you didn't like the show and you didn't think much of it, then you don't have to pay. But actually, I just think it's really quite a good thing. We always go to some of the free Fringe shows because they're just as good, and in some cases is better than the stuff you might have paid £15 or £20 to see. So don't discount it. They're all in the Fringe Programme, or most of it's in the Fringe Programme. I think they do a separate free Fringe Programme, which I haven't got my hands on, but you'd probably pick up in Edinburgh. Certainly they are most of the shows are in the Fringe Programme online. I mean, I've just been looking at one, and I've just highlighted one that I'm going to go and see. So that type of thing. Next we have block book your tickets. So you've gone through the business of deciding what you want to go and see, and what the Fringe Society do is they charge £1.25 per ticket. So if your ticket is £15, you're paying £16.25, right? Now, that is capped at £5. So if you're buying 20 tickets, you're only going to pay the booking fee of £5 for all of those 20 tickets. So my advice is block book as many tickets as you can, ideally before you go. Then you're not buying individual tickets or a pair of tickets when you actually get there. It just saves you some money, really. As I've said, they've said that everything is e-ticketed. It's actually not necessarily true. They said that last year, and we turned up at a box office to get some tickets, and they gave us physical tickets. So there are some physical tickets. Most of your tickets will be an e-ticket on your phone or an iPad app. So make sure you've got your ticket on your device, really. What should happen is every venue will then scan the QR code on your ticket to let you into the venue. What we were finding is that then that happened on most of the venues, but a few of the venues, we literally would turn up and we'd be ready with our QR code and say, "Oh no, what name is it?" So they then would check it against your name. So there's certainly some venues do their own thing as far as that's concerned, really. But you won't just be let in. You will need to have a ticket or some way of identifying that you bought a ticket. So be prepared for that. And the last thing is not something that I've ever needed, or Jane's ever needed, but Edinburgh Festival Fringe is a unique festival, really. It's unlike anything else that I think I've ever been to, and it can be, and to some extent it is completely overwhelming if you've never been before. Everywhere you go, there's free shows on the street. There's people trying to get you to come and see their show. They're handing out flyers. They're doing all sorts of things. It's from a Century point of view, it is overwhelming. And I'm really pleased to see this. I'm just going to look at the programme. But the Fringe Society, they have what's called a sensory backpack. And they are available to borrow free of charge for adults and children. And you may think that for children in particular, all of these people and all this stimulation going on pretty much 24/7, really, at Edinburgh Fringe. And it's when you find the festival environment overwhelming, and it's to help you make the festival experience as enjoyable and as possible. Each backpack contains a variety of sensory products chosen to help support various sensory needs, including things like ear defenders. Okay, I'll put a link down below as to the page where the information about the sensory backpacks are, that can only be a good thing. If you feel you're overwhelmed, you can borrow a sensory backpack, and then hopefully it will enhance your experience of going to Edinburgh Festival Fringe. So in the next video we will start looking at, because we're 3 weeks away, but in the next video I will start looking at some of the shows and recommending some of the shows that Jane and I saw last year. And what we will do is we will update those reviews, and they will all be 4 and 5 star shows. We're not going to be recommending anything below a 4-star show, really. So that's what's going to happen next. So if you'd like to subscribe and ring that little bell, because that'll tell you when I'm going to post a new video up. What we will do when we're actually up in Edinburgh is that we will be posting several reviews each day that we're there. So, you know, dinging that little bell will tell you, you know, when our reviews go live, really. It's done very much a vlog style, so the way that we tend to work is that we basically say what we think about it. If I don't like it and I only give it 2 stars, but Jane loves it and gives it 4 stars, then it's a 4-star review from one of us. We don't have to, you know, we don't always agree on this sort of stuff. So if that sounds like your thing, it'd be lovely to see you, and let us know in the comments down below, or you can always email us, as people have in the past. So let us know your thoughts, and if you've got any recommendations, we're always open to recommendations. It's not like we're underwhelmed. It's not like we haven't got lots of things that we've been recommended to see from theatre companies, and literally back at the beginning of May, our inbox started to fill up with people saying, please come and see my show. Now, realistically, we can't go and see everybody's show. And we'd like to see things that are a bit left field, or that might not get huge audiences. So we don't tend to go and see the bigger stars that you automatically see on TV. We might see 1 or 2, but generally we would tend to stay away from that. We're interested in all sorts of things. The only thing we probably won't go and see a children's show. So this is probably not the channel for you, I'm afraid, because to be fair, our children have grown up, so we wouldn't necessarily go and see that. But we do go and see theatre. We do go and see comedy, music, some spoken word stuff as well, and occasionally we will go and see some dance and that sort of thing. I tend to stay away from things like operas, really. But if I am convinced enough by somebody, I'll go see it, and so will Jane. Or occasionally we do separate. I mean, there's a show that I want to go and see by a particular company. I won't mention them at the moment because it will be coming up in a future review. I know for certain, I think it's a bit scary as well, Jane will not go to that. So Jane will go to something else, I will go to that, and then I will review it. So thanks so much for watching. See you in the next video. Cheers now. Bye-bye.